Perspective now from CNN political commentator and former Illinois Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger, who was obviously on the January 6th committee. Congressman, what's your reaction to the indictment?
Well, I mean, I think we all are looking forward to reading it. Maybe looking forward isn't the right word, but we all want to read it to see what's in it. I think it is Mike Pence expresses the concern of many people, which is this a political indictment? I tend to think no, because I tend to think that nobody is above the law. And as was mentioned, Michael Cohen paid a price for this. A former president should pay a price for this as well, particularly doing what he did. But that said, I think we'll be able to tell when we read the indictment what evidence is had, exactly what the nature of this is. But there's no doubt this is unprecedented. It is a somber and sobering day because it is the first time in this country that a former president will be indicted, and that has some implications for the future. But again, nobody is above the law.
Again, we don't know what's in the indictment. Maybe it will come forward and we'll all be stunned at all this new evidence and all these new crimes that we didn't know about. But if it is not that, if it is what it appears to be, based on reporting, business crimes that might be considered a misdemeanor, using a novel legal theory because the crimes were used to hide a federal campaign, election campaign contribution law violation. Does that concern you? Does that concern you that it's maybe weak?
Yeah, it would concern me. I mean, look, there are members of Congress that have gone to jail for campaign finance violations, particularly ones they knowingly have done. So again, in this kind of mantra of nobody's above the law, it's important to note. But given the unprecedented nature of this, it's not necessarily saying that, New York should not go ahead with it. But I think anybody would prefer that if there's going to be other indictments for, say, January 6th or for the documents or for what happened in Georgia, it would have been much better had those gone first. I believe in the law. I believe if somebody broke the law, they ought to pay the price for that. But again, when we read this, certainly hope that if the DA moved forward, that he has strong evidence and strong reason.
And what do you make of all of the individuals, your former colleagues in the House of Representatives, who are really rallying around Donald Trump in very, very strong ways, including the threat of hauling the district attorney, Alvin Bragg, before Congress to find out why he did what he did today?
Well, I think it's completely inappropriate. I think they ought to wait for the indictment. They ought to wait to see what it is. If it looks like a political indictment, which I'm not saying it is, but if it does, then you can come out and be opposed to it, and you can talk about what hearings to have. But this kind of, premeditated, going after the DA, already knowing supposedly what's in it without having any clue what's in it. Donald Trump today, by the way, called this the darkest day in American history, and that takes into account days like Pearl Harbor, days like 9/11, the Battle of Antietam. This is the darkest day to him in American history. It goes to show where his thoughts are. And so for my former colleagues, you all just need to take a deep breath. We're going to know soon enough what's in this indictment, and then you can make your statements. But to do this so preemptively, I think shows that this has nothing to do with the rule of law and has everything to do with either cowardice on the one hand or just concern for the political future that you have on the other.
And lastly, sir, we had on one of Donald Trump's attorneys who is representing him in the Justice Department special counsel, Jack Smith's case, looking into the president's alleged crimes or misdeeds when it comes to classified documents and also January 6th. Knowing so much about January 6th as you do because of your position on the committee, do you think Donald Trump committed crimes, and what crimes would they be?
Yeah, I certainly do. I mean, look, there is his involvement, I think, particularly when you look at the idea of sitting there and saying to, just say that the election was stolen. Leave the rest to me and the Republican congressmen. The premeditated knowledge that he knew, he wasn't just an innocent bystander with everything leading up to January 6th. And then when January 6th happened, he sat there and proactively did nothing, despite being the one man with the authority to do something. If he's not guilty of some kind of crime for what happened, then in this case, then there's major loopholes in the law, because I don't know who would be guilty for anything at that moment. So, look, that's up to I'm not the lawyer, it's up to the Justice Department to make that decision. I'll trust that they come to the right answer. But knowing what I know about January 6th, everything that led up to it, and then on that actual day, my goodness, there's a lot of people that are paying a price as they deserve to for what they did on January 6th. But the guy that lit the fire certainly ought to pay a price as well.
Former Congressman Adam Kinzinger, Republican of Illinois, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Good to see you again.
Yep.
And I'm back with our panel.